When you hear the name Subaru, you might think about Birkenstocks or urban foraging, but this one is nothing like that. WRX STI might sound like a bad venereal disease, but in fact, it's the name of the car. The STI first debuted in Japan in 1994, and the United States wouldn't see one for over a decade later. Sort of gives you the feeling that the Japanese are holding some sort of a grudge against us, even though I can't be sure why. The STI looks like a love child between a transformer and a peacock. It's not subtle by any means, which is probably why WRXs are the most ticketed car in the United States. Now, all the flashy shapes and dramatic parts of the car are still basically the same, but they've been modernized and everything flows together quite nice. The hood scoop on the front is still there, but it's not screaming for attention anymore like a bratty child. And the table that you eat off of on the back is more conservative as well. Now, with the Mitsubishi Evolution no longer in production, there's no car that looks quite like the STI, and that's saying something. Before we take off, we're going to play with some buttons. First, we're going to relax the traction control. Next, we're going to put the adjustable diff in auto negative. And lastly, we're going to change the driving mode, called SI Drive, into Sport Sharp by twisting that dial like so. And for those of you who don't have any idea what that means, remember back to a time in school where the teacher turned around to write something on the chalkboard. They didn't quite leave the classroom yet, but you do have a few minutes to pass love notes and shoot spitballs at one another. You can probably guess what's under the hood because it hasn't changed in forever. And with that being said, I think I might have found a group of people that work less than the designers over at Porsche, or the people that collect payments at WinRAR. The STI has had a few tweaks to the engine over the years, but there hasn't been a horsepower boost since the iPhone came out. The first iPhone. You still have a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine cranking out 305 horsepower and 290 foot-pounds of torque. That's quick enough to get you from 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds and clear the quarter mile in 13.3 seconds. And that's fast. The car comes standard with a 6-speed manual transmission. First and second gear go by super quick, but the clutch is silky smooth, and the throws on the shifter are short and easy. Sort of like a midget hooker. The most surprising part about the STI is the handling. It really gives you the confidence to fly into corners like the Tasmanian Devil and scamper out like a cheetah wearing ballet shoes. And if you had any sort of confidence in your driving abilities before, after driving the STI, you might actually feel like a professional race car driver. Making sure the car performs well on the track is important, but making sure it's nice every other day of the week is important too. The STI has always been a little bit bland on the inside, but the red stitching and the red accents on the seats definitely make it a little bit cooler. And not only that, the seats are really comfortable, so it makes the whole thing way more livable. On the dash, there's an information display, an infotainment system, and a multifunctional display just above that. I think they put so many screens in the car because it is 2017, and our bodies might physically go into shock if we're not staring at some sort of computer screen for more than 5 minutes. The STI starts at 35 grand, and that's not a bad price considering it has a tremendous ability to hold its value. That is, if you don't douche it out. At this point, you might be ready to rush out and drop your parents' money on a brand new STI, but I wouldn't be in such a hurry, because there's problems. I'll admit, I am a bit frustrated that the car hasn't had a power boost, But that's only because I'm positive that the chassis can definitely handle it. Horsepower is like money. More is always better, as long as you can handle it. A 4-cylinder turbocharged engine making 300 horsepower seemed like a really big deal a while ago, but now everyone's doing it. Even the Ford Mustang has one. On top of that, the car is way too quiet when you're driving it wide open. The suspension is so stiff it can cause shaken baby syndrome, and the intercooler is still in the wrong spot. Also, I feel like the driving modes are a bit gimmicky. They only change the throttle response and don't affect the suspension or handling in any way. But there have been rumors that they affect the boost, although I couldn't find any sources at Subaru that confirm that. The miles per gallon is actually worse than the 2004 STI. Also, there's no Apple CarPlay, there's no Android Auto, and the Subaru Starlink system that they give you is complete crap. And maybe the worst part of all is when you look at the competition. And I'm not talking about the Ford Focus RS or the Volkswagen Golf R. I'm actually talking about a regular WRX, because they've gotten better, much better. The WRX has 30 horsepower less, but it actually feels just as quick because there's less turbo lag. It uses a brand new chassis, won't shake your baby, and costs $9 grand less. 9 grand! Even with all that being said, the STI is truly an amazing car. Yes, some of it may be outdated, but that doesn't make it any less fun to drive. That's kind of like saying songs by the Beatles or Jimi Hendrix are outdated. Just because something's old doesn't mean that it's bad. There are more powerful options out there near 35 grand, like the Ford Focus RS, but you just won't get that raw driving feeling that you would out of the STI. There are also more civilized options out there like the Golf R, but the excitement factor just isn't there. And after driving the STI all day, I'm convinced that there's no way to truly hate this car. If you really hate it, that means you either own an Evo, or you bought yours on Craigslist from a person who swears they never had it on the track. I am excited for the future of the STI though, and that's because the foundation for one of the greatest cars ever is already here. Now all we need is a team of engineers that are willing to push the boundaries and perform the upgrades that the STI truly deserves.
You want that in the video?
That's gonna be great video footage.
Or do you want to redo that one?
I will put that in the video. Is it recording?
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
External shot, take blue 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 blue.
And this looks fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you do anything?
No.
So suspense on correct.
Yeah, you need glasses. It's the name of the car. What do I say next?
Take 86 trillion.
Then the design changers at Porsche, or the design changers.
The design changers, huh?
What are design changers?
The designers, perhaps you want to go with?
Foot-pounds of torque. That's enough to get you looking at me. What are you doing? Why are you looking at me like that?
I was making sure my shoulder was out of the shot.
Sort of like a midget hooker. Why were you the all of that? God damn it. Connected to the engine is a four-cylinder.
Four-cylinder attached to the engine.
We have a 4-cylinder manual transmission. And that's not a bad value considering their tremendous ability. That's not a bad value considering their tremendous ability to hold value. Value, value, value! Not a bad price considering the Estremise.
The Estremise.
Love Estremise. Should I start recording?
No. Are you not?
No. Wait, who is that?
That's me. I'm trying to film it.
Because I was looking at you and I was like, I see your seatbelt.
Worst annoying sound ever.